Have you ever wondered what it's like to be on the other end of the radio, speaking live to thousands of listeners? Have you ever wondered how almost 5 hours of content for a radio show is created every single day? Today's guest works for Connecticut's #1 morning show and will share with us how life is like behind the mic.
That was Southern's radio. So then I just thought, you know what? Why don't I just go with this? At least see what the deal is with communications, radio, stuff like that. I mean, worst case scenario, if I go into video production, as they called it back then, it's sort of like radio because you're adjusting based on your senses, on your eyes, ears, stuff like that. So let me take a look. Maybe there's some kind of correlation here.
Good morning. Welcome to Person to Person. I'm your host, Brian Carter, and today we have Stoshball here at the show. He's now working at PLL's morning show. Jazz and AJ is here to tell you about his experiences behind the mic. Stoshball, good morning. Thanks for being on the show.
My pleasure, man. Anything to really help out the youth in the nation.
Stoshball, first of all, why Stoshball? Where'd your name come from?
Well, it's actually a funny story. You see, when I was growing up, I was given the nickname Stosh by some of the guys on a softball team that I play for. I've known the guys since I was a child, pretty much. It was originally supposed to be my first name, but my dad decided against it because it sounded like the drunk guy that sits at the end of the bar eating peanuts. So I told this story on air to Jazz and AJ, and they thought of the idea, Stoshball, softball, let's combine them. Stoshball.
It's perfect.
Really
so
is.
Can you tell us a little bit about your time at Southern Connecticut radio station?
Well, at Southern's radio station, it was definitely something to behold. I can definitely say that, to say the least. I started out as just like a general member for about 3 or 4 years. Then from there, I decided to take the helms of the sports director for the station, and pretty much I was in charge of doing all the sports, all the live broadcasts, doing a sports program each week. And after that, I tried to become the general manager of the station. It didn't work out ultimately because somebody else had a better resume, so I became music director instead, and that's what really took off for me because it introduced me to new talent, helped me refine my interview abilities because I was getting more and more people coming in that wanted to interview on the station, and that's really about it.
So now you're working with Chaz and AJ. For those that don't know, what is that show like?
Jazz and AJ is your typical morning talk show, except cranked up to about 11, pretty much. It's one of those shows that it is a talk show, but at the same time, they kind of are like more of a softer version of Howard Stern. Like, you're not going to see strippers for the most part or anything like that. It's more family-friendly than that, but at the same time, it does have an edge to it.
Sounds like a great show.
Oh.
So what exactly is your part on the show?
Well, I'm an intern, so pretty much I'm one of the understudies of the show, pretty much. Like, I spent time learning behind the scenes of how to produce a show, like how to keep the show running, how to be in production for a radio show. Now it's pretty much I'm a talent on the show, but it's like pretty much I'm almost like that guy that is comic relief almost. I'm the guy that often will find ways to mess something up, but it'll be funnier in the long run. Me and my other intern friend, their intern Fathead, do the same thing over and over again, but like we do it just to create this more appealing sense that will get people to want to listen, even though it could be the ultimate train wreck you may ever hear.
Well, I guess there's a segment on this show called Dumbass. Let's listen to a segment for a moment.
According to a police report, the man was using a restroom at the mall and was putting his 45 caliber handgun back into his holster.
He's lucky he's got anything left down there.
That's gonna be a mark.
And the gun accidentally fired.
Easy access now.
Where's right Andy ass burns?
A police report says the bullet went into his right butt and exited from his right leg.
What kind of toilet paper did you use for that?
Oh, and that left a big hole. I'm telling you,
yep.
45.
Yeah.
That's one of those. It probably takes a minute before you realize the thing went off because you just can't hear anything anymore.
Yep.
It's just so loud in that bathroom.
Right.
Like in that kind of fake, weird kind of concussion, like, woo.
Yep. Now when he poops, he wipes his leg.
Yeah,
On the plus side, he doesn't need a holster anymore.
No, he does
Now
not.
you just put his
right there.
barrel right in there.
A hole and holster.
In addition to the self-sustained injury to his butt and his leg, the bullet also broke a piece of tile, which I'm sure the store will make him pay for.
Yes.
So how do you guys find these characters and their stories exactly?
Well, we actually, it's the first thing we are told to do when we first come into the station, actually. When you first come in, it's usually come in, check off to make sure all the spots played, make the coffee, and then get right on the laptop and find 3 to 5 stories for dumbass news, pretty much. We look everywhere on the internet, and usually the first places we are told to look are pretty much like CBS and all that type of stuff, and cities that are in like Ohio, Texas, Florida, for some reason New Mexico and Arizona. And really, it's just because those are the places that put out the weirdest stories, pretty much. The stories that are like, this sounds like something from Monty Python. How can this actually happen? But yet it still happens. We look for them, and it takes a little bit of time to find them because they're just so obscure that you're not going to see somebody looking for them for the most part, unless they're just looking for something on Facebook just to post, just to really shoot the breeze.
Well, I also heard you do live improv on your guitar. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Oh, yes. Well, pretty much when I get called in, usually they'll tell me, can you bring a guitar in? Can you not bring a guitar in? Can you come by yourself? Etc. So what they do is they have me come in for like a phone prank, and they'll tell me right on the spot, hey, this is who we're calling. Just be ready for this, such and such. Like right before we get right out of commercial break. So they'll tell me this, and I'll have to think of something on the spot just to open up with. But then from there, it just all flows, because the thing with radio is you have to go with the responses rather than the ideas. Like, you could have one idea completely there, think, oh, this is going to run great. A guest could say something different than what's planned, crumple it up, and just throw it away. But pretty much that's what you have to do when you're talking about improv for that kind of stuff. And, well, it's all live, so you can't really make the claim of what's going to happen next.
Right. So we got one of those phone pranks. Let's listen to it right now.
Academy, this is Ryan. How can I help you?
I'm interested in applying for a teaching job.
I'm assuming you saw our ad we put out.
Absolutely, I saw it in the local paper. And you know I want to be that guy.
What's your experience?
Well, I played in a Devo cover band.
Now, I heard about a time that you were live on the show and there was some kind of watch party going on. What exactly is that?
A watch party?
Yeah, a watch party was going on to see it. What was it?
Well,
the watch party.
If I'm thinking of what it is exactly, there was an incident that I probably shouldn't talk about because it's not PG pretty much, but there was something that was going on during the show. Let's just say it had an exotic dancer on the show. I'll just leave it at that, but pretty much they were Facebook Living the whole thing that was going on, and pretty much everybody was watching it. It was just this obscure moment that people would be like, why is this smut on my computer screen right now? All of a sudden, it broke 7.2K views just in about a 14-hour span, but people were watching it live, people were commenting, stuff like, that's how you do it, good for him. But pretty much when that happened, everybody started roasting the show. Pretty much just like, how could you do this to the poor intern? He's never done something like this before. And honestly, also the vice versa. How could you do it to the poor girl? She's got a family. How dare you insult her? And pretty much, it's one of those reactions that you see on radio that's just like, you go home afterwards and think, holy fudge, you just broke the internet pretty much with this one video that was so ridiculous, that got so many views, so many shares, that it was pretty much somewhere close to what the population of Connecticut is. I mean, think about it, 7.2K in the span of about 12 to 14 hours. That's insane. I mean, especially coming from a rock station. You would expect that from maybe the New York Yankees if you had them do a press conference, if you had them do like a live Facebook video from batting practice. But this was a rock station in Connecticut, which isn't big to begin with at all. I mean, yes, PLR is Connecticut's #1 rock station, but we're considered a medium market, so it's something that you're like, holy crud, how did this happen?
Right, yeah, it seems all really interesting. But I appreciate you being on the show today. It's great to have you.
Great. Thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure to be able to talk to people like about this type of stuff.
Awesome. We hope you enjoyed today's edition of Person to Person. If you live in the coverage area, don't forget to tune in to 99.1 PLR during the morning commute to catch Chaz and AJ in the morning. Thank you and have a great day.
This has been Person to Person with your host, Bryant Carter, directed by Bruno, Oliveira. I'm your announcer, Shayna Johnson.
Brooke, could you get Bruno, please?